family then informed him that there was another possible father, and it probably was because at that time you even said you believed it was the other guy's child.
The reason for doubts in any paternity case is because there is always another guy lurking in the shadows of being the potential father of the child in question. Just like almost every other man that believes the child is for the other man, Mr. Horne also believes this same thing, but the DNA test results will shed more light on the situation. Will it be the other guy or Mr. Horne? Let's investigate this case thoroughly.
Mr. Horne, you had a wild weekend 3 decades ago and now find yourself in court to prove that you are not the biological father.
Okay, it's looking a little bit rough around the edges from the very beginning. Mr. Horne claimed it was a wild night from 3 decades back, and he has never even met the alleged result of the wild night. But what he knows for sure is that he didn't father Ms. Mannion's son. On the other hand, Ms. Mannion also did agree that it was a very wild weekend, but she's certain without a doubt that Mr. Horne is the father of her son.
Received a shocking phone call 5 years ago. Tell the court what happened.
I was at work. I got a phone call from a family member who never calls me at work. Asked me if I remembered a certain name.
A railroad track being laid all across America? Oh no, that line has depth, but it's completely wrong. Mr. Horne tried to claim Ms. Mannion was everywhere, but he got a lick too. And that just includes him in the same circus he's trying to condemn. Ms. Mannion defends herself saying Mr. Horne's claim is completely false. Okay, ma'am.
So, you had the phone conversation and you basically told him
That there's no way I could be the father.
Ms. Mannion?
Yes, Your Honor.
He called your son and he basically said there's no possible way he could be his biological father.
He is the father.
Ms. Mannion further laid emphasis on her claim saying Mr. Horne is her son's biological father, even though they were 2 guys she was messing around with at that time. However, the other man is out of the picture as he had already had a DNA test done and it came back negative. So Mr. Horne is the only man left in the potential father pool to Ms. Mannion's son.
A party on the weekend at an apartment complex of a buddy of mine's. She showed up. I didn't really have a clue who she was. We started chatting. She kept coming on to me.
That is a lie.
Best alarm clock, These grown-up folks acting like kids in high school, especially Mr. Horne. A man's paternity is on the line, and all Mr. Horne wants to keep ranting about is how sexually explicit he and Ms. Mannion were 3 decades ago. Whew! Ms. Mannion denied Mr. Horne's claim, saying he was even the one that came on to her first.
Did you ever hear she was pregnant?
I found out that she was pregnant after she had the child. I ran into the dude that she was dating at the time. He said he took a DNA test, but he never seen the results.
Wait a minute, Ms. Mannion never got the result of the first DNA testing from the other potential father? Now the story has changed a little bit, and it can make a big difference. Ms. Mannion not knowing what the outcome of the result was gives Mr. Horne more confidence to think he's not the biological father of her son.
Who did your mother lead you to believe was your biological father from the beginning?
Well, I was with my grandparents for the first 5 years of my life.
Okay.
I considered them my mom and dad, and I kept calling her Christina.
That's another entirely different story from Mr. Haight. Initially, Mr. Haight believed his grandparents were his parents. It later changed to him believing his father was the man Ms. Mannion got married to. Finally, Mr. Haight realized it has all been a lie and he doesn't really know who his father is.
What did your mother tell you at that point?
I asked her who he was, and she gave me the name Kevin Horne the very first time.
The first time you asked?
The first time I asked.
And she had absolutely no doubt in her mind?
She had no doubt in her mind.
Mr. Haight stored the information in his memory for future purposes, and here we are. The future is now. Ms. Mannion is convinced that Mr. Horne is the father of her son, even though there are some irregularities in the story, but most times, folks believe a woman always knows. Maybe Ms. Horne will fall in that category.
She knew how to find me. She could have found me.
I didn't
And
know how to find
if he
him.
is my son, I've lost 29 years of his life other than the last few years that we've been able to talk on the phone.
It looks like these two are still in their drunken state from the past 3 decades, talking over one another just to make a point that doesn't matter anymore in the grand scheme of things, tells us all we need to know about Mr. Horne and Ms. Mannion. It's time to put Mr. Haight out of his misery by finding out if Mr. Horne is his biological father or otherwise.
Case of Horne v. Mannion. When it comes to 29-year-old Andrew Haight, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Horne, you are his father.
Mr. Norris would rather function in the other world than accept he fathered Ms. Norris's son, but this is what most men claim before the DNA test result is announced. Only a few men fight to be the biological fathers of children in paternity court. But then again, these men cannot be entirely blamed for this because most women also love to chase different carrots.
Norris, you claim Johnny B. Norris Sr. has been denying he fathered your son for the past 22 years.
It's been about 22 years, and Mr. Norris is still standing by his words that he indeed didn't father Ms. Norris' son, and he cannot wait for the DNA test result to prove him right. Ms. Norris is in the other stand claiming she also cannot wait for the DNA test result to prove her right that Mr. Norris is the biological father of her son. The atmosphere is about to get heated.
Did ever acknowledge Junior as his son?
Yes, Your Honor, he did. After having my son, we were married by my father in our front yard. We had a yard wedding, Your Honor.
That was a shotgun wedding, y'all.
It's not getting heated just yet, but there are already differences in Mr. Norris and Ms. Norris's stories. Mr. Norris recounts being forced into the marriage due to the pregnancy circumstance, even though he loved Ms. Norris at the time. However, Ms. Norris says no one forced Mr. Norris as they were both in love, and the pregnancy just hastened the matrimony.
Why does he deny your son?
That I don't know, Your Honor.
His grandmother said that I wasn't his father.
I don't believe that. And if she did say that to him, it was because she was just so fed up.
Grandma caused this mess? Oh, okay. Mr. Norris was led to believe he isn't the father of the newborn child at the time, and he even took it to heart because Ms. Norris's mother used her ex's name when she tried to disclose the baby daddy. That's enough grounds to make Mr. Norris doubtful about the child's paternity, but a DNA test would have made it clear whether he was the father or not.
Your Honor, that is incorrect. I was not sleeping around with my ex. I was totally in love with Mr. Norris here.
Ms. Norris swings back saying Mr. Norris's claim isn't true, and if anyone was cheating, it was Mr. Norris. Ms. Norris says Mr. Norris disappeared on his son's birthday, which is really wrong, but Mr. Norris says things weren't as they used to be and he had no choice but to leave.
Iterating,
And he wasn't the reason why I left. It was the mom. Because her and I wasn't getting along, and there was no love there. Why hang around?
No lies. That must have been pretty deep for Mr. Norris hearing such a heartbreaking thing, considering Mr. Norris even accepted the marriage because of the pregnancy that led to the birth of the child. Hearing he isn't the father is another level of betrayal from Ms. Norris's side.
She was angry with him because the way he was treating me.
Oh.
And we wasn't getting along, and she knew that he was a cheater.
Whew, that's a whole lot to take in. Grandma did cause a ruckus, but we cannot blame Grandma just yet because she may be telling the truth. Ms. Norris claims she didn't have the right over whatever her mother said to Mr. Norris, but what she knows for sure is that Mr. Norris disappeared, and he's the father of her son.
Ms. Norris, at what point do you decide to search for Mr. Norris Sr.? When do you say, okay, he's not coming back, and that's my son's father? Where is he?
Yeah, I was like, how can somebody just abandon?
Ms. Norris says she dropped her anger about 6 years ago to reach out to Mr. Norris and gave him his son's address to fix their father and son relationship, but Mr. Norris seems to remember things differently. Mr. Norris says he doesn't recall Ms. Norris doing such a thing, but Ms. Norris reminded him of how she had been in contact with his wife. Well, Mr. Norris still cannot remember what Ms. Norris is saying.
Did you find out that your husband might have a son?
I heard rumors through the years, and I checked it out myself.
If only somebody could tell Mr. Norris that it's called Facebook and not Spacebook. Whew. Anyway, Mr. Norris says he believes it was a shotgun marriage, but he's still married regardless of the circumstance that led to it. Now there's a heartbroken wife, a man waiting to know if Mr. Norris is his biological father, and an ex-wife that isn't taking any chances with Mr. Norris. Time to let the cat out of the bag.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Norris Sr., you are not his father.
Some fathers are really interested in taking care of their children and being there for them, but it's not always that easy. The fathers that don't want to be available get the grace of the children trying to get closer to them, but the fathers that want to be fathers, the opposite of that happens to them, just like in Mr. Fritz's case.
Mr. Fritz, you state that over the last 30 years, you have searched to find your biological daughter, who you claim was taken from you as a child.
Mr. Fritz has been in search of his alleged daughter for decades, and he's ready to go to any lengths to prove Ms. Agee in the other stand is his biological daughter. And there's Ms. Agee that does not believe Mr. Fritz fathered her, and she's also in paternity court to prove that to him and make him forget all about her for good.
So adamant that Mr. Fritz is not your biological father.
Well, first off, Your Honor, he's on my birth certificate. The guy that's on my birth certificate was not my biological father. He was married to my mother when I was born, but I do know who my biological father is.
That's a lot to process, but seeing how Ms. Agee narrated her story, everyone can tell how hurt she felt back then, and even as she stands in that court. Ms. Agee doesn't believe Mr. Fritz is her father since she was told another person was her father, and that has been the only name she stuck with for decades.
I was 17 when I had my first child. I got married, and I was pregnant with my second child when I was 18. And I wanted to look for him because I was gonna let him know that he has a daughter out here that
Ms. Agee's supposed father never reached out to her again, and according to Mr. Fritz, that's because he's Ms. Agee's biological father. However, Ms. Agee isn't about to get carried away with that, as she voiced her feelings saying Mr. Fritz could have come looking for her before she clocked 30 and she was married. If that town is as small as Ms. Agee mentioned, maybe she's right, but who knows what happened to Mr. Fritz in those 3 decades?
I said, hey man, when you get it back in town, would you run by and let Angel's family know that I've been transferred and where I was going to come see me. After 3 months, I escaped from the penitentiary to go see my daughter, and at 2 months old, I went and seen my daughter.
You wouldn't have any recollection of an event that happened when you were 2 months old or 2 years old, Ms. Agee. Only pictures can prove that, and that's why Mr. Fritz is here in paternity with those pictures to help prove his case. Mr. Fritz got incarcerated but still found a way to be with his daughter? The bond he had with Ms. Agee must have been off the books.
I went and knocked on all the neighbors' doors. Everyone says, we don't know. They move. We don't know where they're at.
I'm telling you, if you wanted to find me, you could have found me.
Well, I tried and I couldn't find.
Miss Agee's pain is understandable because she was the one that felt like an abandoned kid for several years, but Mr. Fritz seemed to have tried his best too. Technology wasn't as sharp and effective decades ago as it is now, Ms. Agee. And to be fair, it seemed like Ms. Agee's maternal side wanted Mr. Fritz out of her life, seeing the way they moved out of the trailer, didn't make contact, and were nowhere to be found.
It's where she lives at. When I
don't
went
believe
to
it.
find
I
her, we would go and look for you.
I don't believe it. Because Thomasville's a little town. I'm telling you, people talk. People know people in Thomasville. I'm sorry.
From Ms. Agee's responses, anyone can easily tell she's a feisty woman, but aside from that, just like Ms. Agee mentioned, she wants to get her feelings all out. But Mr. Fritz is also a man with feelings who never stopped looking for his daughter even after 3 decades, and he wants to talk about his feelings too.
First day that we talked, she told me she was stressed. I said, what's going on? And she says, my daughter, my baby daughter is going out for cheerleading. I don't have enough money to get her a cheerleading outfit.
Ms. Agee wouldn't agree that Mr. Fritz is her father, but she talked about money with a false reason and accepted the money he sent that fast, and Ms. Agee is still going at it and using her anger to mask that? Okay. Anyway, Mr. Fritz did what any grandpa would do. Grandparents don't like to see their grandkids miss out on anything.
Just fearful to be hurt again, for another man to say, I'm your dad, you matter to me, and then the next thing you know, they're not there.
Exactly, you're right.
That ain't gonna happen,
in my life, and I don't want to be hurt
anymore. You ain't gonna be by yourself no more. I'm gonna tell you that.
Ms. Agee is deeply hurt, but maybe it's time to let go of the hurt and start over. Mr. Fritz says he would always be there for her, and let's believe that will stand regardless of the outcome of the DNA test result. Let's see if Mr. Fritz's intuition has been right all along.
Fritz versus Agee, pertaining to 35-year-old Shauna Agee.
Come on.
As to whether Mr. Russell Fritz is her biological father.
When 2 men are fighting over a child, then the mother has some real questions to answer. While some are running away from the responsibilities of being a father, 2 men are in paternity court trying to prove either one of them is the father, but who will it be? Mr. Lewis or Mr. Scott?
Mr. Lewis, you say for 35 years you've always known you were Miss Scott's biological father.
Now that's confusing. Mr. Lewis claims he knows he fathered Ms. Scott, and the DNA test result will prove that the 35-year-old woman is his biological daughter. Yeah, that's cool, but Mr. Scott has been the father. Ms. Scott knew all her life, as he's still even married to her mother, and he was there through her birth right up until where she is now. What a dicey situation.
Why is this so important to resolve now?
Your Honor, this is something to me has been long overdue. She is my daughter.
That's convincing, but that doesn't necessarily mean Miss Scott is Mr. Lewis's daughter. Miss Scott's mother had told Mr. Lewis that he is her father, but somehow, Mr. Scott has been in the picture as her father for decades. It gets more complicated hearing Mr. Lewis say they have snapped pictures together with his other kids. Something isn't right.
Told as a child that Mr. Lewis was your biological father?
Your Honor, my mom never told me that Mr. Lewis was my biological father.
Ms. Scott ruins Mr. Lewis's claim of being her father as she recounts how Mr. Scott, who she knows to be her father, has been the man that not only stood as a father figure in her life, but as her biological father. Ms. Scott has loved her entire 35 years believing Mr. Scott is her father, as opposed to what Mr. Lewis believes.
You've been a father to your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
And you believed she was your daughter.
No ifs, no ands about it.
You were married to her mother.
Yes.
Her mother is your wife.
Exactly.
Just like Ms. Scott, Mr. Scott also believes he's the biological father of the woman he's standing right next to in paternity court. He doesn't even have any doubt. Well, things take a different turn with Mr. Lewis talking about how he was an unhappy man and Mr. Scott's wife was an unhappy woman and they fell in love.
We became involved and we had probably an 8-year relationship. She told me that at 7 months, she asked me, who do you think this child is?
Wait, what? 8 years relationship while being married? Even single folks don't get that kind of opportunity. Maybe they must have really been in love, as Mr. Lewis said, but a divorce would have sufficed to end the marriage and keep their love flame burning. Anyway, according to Mr. Lewis, Mr. Scott wife her pregnant and confessed to him that he was the father.
Miss Scott, when's the first time you remember meeting Mr. Lewis?
When I was little, I used to be up under my mom's tail all the time. Everywhere she went, I had to go.
Mr. Scott's wife did some real damage, and she isn't even present in court. Ms. Scott was told Mr. Lewis was a friend, and she believed it, but she was a kid and she didn't know any better. Maybe some other kids would tattletale to their father, but Ms. Scott trusted her mother more than she should have.
And now you have to look at the man who you've believed all your life is your biological father. And now you have to have very real questions because your mother has finally, after 35 years, validated those questions.
Mr. Scott has played the role of an exemplary father with the way Mrs. Scott describes how he's been her hero over the years and made things run smoothly in every corner of her life. Mr. Scott doesn't look like he can get over the shock of finding out about his wife's 8-year-old affair, though.
Instead of having me go through years and years of pain, looking at my family, hearing family members even say that, I'm not his.
Ms. Scott's paternity has even been questioned a few times, and her mother still decided to keep everyone in the dark. That woman knows why she didn't show up in court. Ms. Scott, Mr. Scott, and even Mr. Lewis are all victims of Mr. Scott's wife's messy relationship, but it's time to know who really fathered Ms. Scott. Will it be the hero or the man that decided to make things right decades later?
Is the father of Ms. Crystal Scott. It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Lewis.
Many kids would grow up to find clips of their biological father denying them because most men just want to lay with a woman and ignore the consequences of their actions. There are also some children that will grow up to find clips of their mother being a joker in the courtroom after the paternity test result has been announced. Either one of these options will apply to Ms. Moyet or Mr. Lester.
Moyet, you're here in court today to prove that Mr. Lester, a man who is 20 years older than you, is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Nyla Moyet. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lester being 20 years older than Miss Moyet tells a lot about their confusion as to the biological father. Well, Miss Moyet says Mr. Lester is the father of her child, and he owes her a couple bucks for not participating since the child's birth. Mr. Lester, on the other hand, says Ms. Moyet has been with every dude in the neighborhood, and that makes him certain he's not her baby's biological father.
Well, Your Honor, Mr. Lester has hardly been involved in Nyla's life. Besides the fact of 3 cases of diapers, a onesie that he bought for her, which was a boy outfit.
3 packs of diapers, Ms. Moyet claims she and her mother have been the ones shouldering the responsibility of her daughter since birth. Well, Mr. Lester claimed he also had about 1 or 2 contributions to the baby's life.
What was his reaction, Ms. Moyet?
He was not happy. I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over to his house the day I was ovulating, okay? And I let him know, babe, I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did nothing to prevent Nyla.
Ms. Moyet went over to Mr. Lester's house while she was ovulating? That sounds like she was just trying to trap Mr. Lester with a baby, and now she's pissed he's not entirely participating in her baby's life. Ms. Moyet says Mr. Lester wanted it too, but Mr. Lester denies ever saying that, as he mentions they are not even having a sexual relationship at the moment, as opposed to Ms. Moyet's testimony.
That this is all in her mind?
Yes, Your Honor, it is definitely in her mind.
We've had sex, and I don't know why you're lying. Like we just had sex yesterday.
Ms. Moyet planned to have a baby, but she seemed to have forgotten to plan to be able to care for the baby all by herself in case Mr. Lester ditches her. Okay, Mr. Lester already switched positions. He claims they haven't had sexual intercourse earlier, and now they did the night before showing up in paternity court? That's unexplainable.
That you had sex with her during the time when Nyla was conceived?
Yes, I did.
And that sex was unprotected?
Without protection, no.
Your Honor, that's a lie. Me and Nate have never used a condom since the first time we've ever had sex.
And there it is. Only Ms. Moyet wanted to have a baby. Mr. Lester wasn't interested in having one. Maybe Ms. Moyet set up her baby for rejection, but Mr. Lester should have known better by having protected sex to avoid situations like this. And he doesn't even seem like he has learned his lesson because he still did it again last night. Baby number 2 it is.
I did want a sexual relationship without being in a committed relationship.
Maybe a larger part of the blame can be placed on Ms. Moyet, but there's Mr. Lester who could have acted his age and not mess around with Ms. Moyet since he wasn't ready for a committed relationship or a child. Mr. Lester could have just zipped up and called it a day, week, month, or year.
Only did we use a condom the
I
first
never
day.
used a condom with Nathaniel. Why would I get on national TV and say I never used a condom?
Yeah, that's not a good thing, Ms. Moyet, and so is yelling on national TV too. Moving on, Mr. Lester claims he has about 5 reasons to doubt he's truly the father of Ms. Moyet's child. Maybe his reasons are valid, but only the DNA test result can confirm if his doubts are right or wrong.
I know how old I am, and I know what sex leads to. And I just want to point out to you the percentages of older men having babies and how it declines.
Some more research.
Yes, some research.
Mr. Lester really came prepared to fight this paternity case, but that wouldn't change the DNA test results though. Mr. Lester believes his sperm are already slowing down, and with Miss Moyet's alleged promiscuous lifestyle, the baby definitely belongs to one of her other sexual partners. Let's find out if that's true.
Moyet versus Lester. Pertaining to 3-month-old Nyla Moyet. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.